I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Joel Sains. That is Tom Diamond. That is Vickie Ray. We're here to talk Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the movie where no one's going to come home. Tom Atkins is here, and there is no such thing as a bad Tom Atkins movie. Stacey Nelkin is here. Very lovely woman. So John Carpenter wanted an anthology series, and this is what he came up with. What do you guys think of the title, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch? Some people think it's not a good title because it implies continuity. Which there
it does imply continuity. It's probably one of the most divisive entries in the Hollywood Halloween franchise.
Well, it certainly made the lowest money.
Because they were pissed because they really thought it was going to be a continuation of Michael Myers. But over time, it's gained a cult following, but it's got a lot of standout qualities, But it was a big departure from Michael Myers. People weren't, and they didn't advertise hardly at all either. So, I mean, that didn't help things. So I think people were a little shocked by that. But as far as launching it as an anthology of a standalone, I don't know completely because it would have had. It would have more than one storyline, wouldn't it? I guess it had a couple different.
Well,
I'm glad to hear.
When I think anthology, I think different stories, and sort of like Creep Show.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that it has a cult following because I, for one, thought that this movie was better than the first two because it had good music. They got together with electronic music and they synthesized
synthesizer,
and then of course Halloween, Halloween. And of course that reminds me of Dark Shadows with London Bridges falling down, which is what Barnabas' little sister Sarah used to sing all the time. So maybe that was something that struck a chord. But I really thought that the movie was, and it's HOTZ, by the way, not HOTS. People are going to think I have the hots for somebody. And maybe I do, but I'm not talking.
I'll fix it.
I'm not talking. It's HOTZ, aka Tom Diamond. But anyway, I just noticed that. But anyway, I really think that this. I think the critics were overly negative on it. There was one critic that was positive and felt that the movie had a good ending. I think that Joe Dante directed it. He was the original director. It probably would have wound up to be a different movie. But Tommy Lee Wallace was pretty, and he went on, and it reminded me of a Stephen King movie in a way.
I know.
Because it had that. Yeah. And Tommy Lee Wallace went on to direct a couple of Stephen King films. So I think so. He was definitely in the ballpark when it came to something like that. And originally, it was supposed to be psychological horror and not so much blood and gore. And I think Dante and the original writer pulled out because they started having blood and gore, too much blood and gore for their taste. And then Tommy Lee Wallace took over. So my take on it was, I don't know if it would work as an anthology. I know that's what they had plans for, because you really have to get to know. People already got to know Michael Myers, and they were obviously stuck with that. And they were expecting Michael Myers scare. And instead of that, they got a completely different movie. And if you had an open mind,
it was a WTF moment for those of us who was not prepared for it when it came out. That's just the way it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, they didn't advertise it as such, so no one knew. And then when you see that, you think Halloween. Well, you thought it was going to be, continuing, the franchise with
right. and that's why they went back in
I think
Halloween
that's why people
4.
were just a little shocked by it. I mean,
They went.
the tone is deeply weird. The whole movie is deeply weird. And I mean, you got Tom Atkins. I don't know what women think now, but I mean, he's just the epitome of toxic masculinity. I love it. I can't help it. I love him. I mean, who doesn't love Tom Atkins? I mean, he's a lovable latch, I guess. He drinks too much and he's always hoeing around in every movie. I mean, he is the easiest lay. I mean, seriously. I mean, just like in this movie, you know, she asks him, well, where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice, or whatever? And he goes, well, where do you think? I mean, they just met each other, for crying out loud. They didn't even go through anything horrific yet at that moment, even like console each other for, you know, that humanitarian moment that was needed, because nothing happened yet. But I mean, it was a movie full of what WTF the whole way. I mean, for the most part. I mean, because I mean, they only had 3 choices for masks without the rest of the costume. I mean, seriously, think about that. You know, when you're thinking of your child brain in Halloween, they only got 3 masks and just there's no other part of the costume. And you got all these costumes that are out of place with these 3 masks on their head, all these little kids running around. You know, I mean, it was kind of weird. I mean, did they think any of this out is what I'm wondering. You know,
John Carpenter had subconsciously set up the anthology trilogy, this anthology movie, and the first movie really. There's when during this graveyard sequence when Sam Loomis is walking to Judith Meyer's grave, the caretaker is mentioning an event that happened 15 years ago, Halloween night in Russellville.
Right.
That a man slaughtered his family on Halloween night. That's sort of your hint that there's other things going on in the franchise, in a sense. You don't get to see it, but you hear about it briefly. And Loomis just dismisses it like, no, I don't care, pretty much. But
yeah,
because he's more focused on Michael. But and in a sense, that's sort of how you feel too, because a middle-aged man murdering his family is nothing new. But a 6-year-old murdering his sister, that's damn sure new. That's nothing that people.
It's definitely going to grab you more as a headline.
Yeah. So he sets up this anthology sort of that way. And Season of the Witch, I love how they address Michael Myers in this movie. He's fiction. This is a whole different reality than what you got. This is not.
They had it set up as the NBC ad, but when it came out and premiered that one time as NBC, remember how it premiered? I mean, I don't know if Tom remembers, but it premiered on NBC and it was advertised that. I mean, they did that with that. And it's like, I never really paid attention to that before, you know, but I did notice. I mean, it's one of those movies if you watch it, you'll always see something that you didn't see to begin with. Like Santa Mira was like the small real life town of Loletta, California. And I mean, that was like, what was it? The Pod People, you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers was Santa Mira.
Yeah.
You know, so it had a lot of little Easter eggs in it. And that Silver Shamrock commercial played over 20 times. If you took away anything from this movie, it was that Silver Shamrock song, you know? And I mean, how did it go over everybody's head that they stole a piece of Stonehenge? Why is that just not a big fucking deal? Okay. That's a big deal.
One of the critics was talking about the time change, that if you steal Stonehenge from England and it's 4 hours behind, but 5 hours behind, and you're talking about something that's supposed to. So in other words, Stonehenge was supposed to have its own internal
but the
clock.
timeline, I mean, the timeline's different there. And then you got Cochran. Well, what did he say? He said, "Oh yeah, we had a hell of a time getting it here. You wouldn't believe how we did it." And then they didn't tell you how we got it there. I wanted to know how we got it there. Okay. So, I mean, I had questions throughout the whole movie. I still had questions. And then Warlock came back as one of the robot people, making you wonder, well, was Jason, or not Jason, but you throw Jason in there too. Was Michael Myers a robot person, you know, because he kept coming back.
Yes. Yeah, Dick Warlock does a great job of being one of the androids in
Yeah.
this movie. And I love how they don't reveal that right away, too, that they're androids. Because you see one killed by a car
Yeah.
smashing, and then the guy who blows himself up outside the hospital. It's like, what the hell is going on here? They do a great job of making you ask that question. And yeah, the Silver Shamrock commercial is catchy as hell. John
Yeah.
Carpenter and Alan Howard
Yeah,
teaming up for the score on this one.
which I think was much better than the first two movies.
There is
He
a blink
was,
and you'll miss it scene of Halloween. They do show it like on the TV, like on the
that's
bar.
right. It's a little homage,
Yeah.
and the Halloween skull and the eyes and stuff like that. That's all I
Oh,
think
one
of
of my
homage.
best kills, favorite kills, that just really grossed me out was when he pulled the guy's eye sockets out.
Yeah,
That
Oh
was
yeah, he
just a
pulled his skull.
despicable kill, man. Just like I felt that one. He's just like gouging his eyes out. Then he pulls his skull and his nose. I mean, that shit hurt.
Well, that
So
was so Stephen Kingish, to have that kind of power to just break the nasal bones. I'll tell you one thing: if the guy had a deviated septum, he'd be able to breathe if he survived.
no
That's for sure.
kidding.
Yeah, I mean, but basically, I don't know, like if he was just pulling out the nasal bones, I don't. I think that would probably be a good septoplasty. But if he was pulling out other bones like the cheekbones, that. But I don't think they were thinking of the medical ramifications of what they were doing. They just wanted to gross out. And I thought when I first saw him go for the face, I thought he was going to pull out his eyes or something like that.
I just, what's the one thing? I'm a gore hound. I can watch the bloodiest crap and eat a 5-course meal. Doesn't bother me at all. Something about eyeballs. I cannot deal with eyeballs. I mean, like, when there's that one scene with Jason, it's like the arrow in Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I just can't do eyes like that. And there's always something with eyes. Always something with eyes, but the eyes, that just gets me all the time. And that one really got to me.
Yeah, and
That killed it.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. In part 3, which is in 3D, whether you watch it in 2D or not.
Right.
This when he first gets the hockey mask. He's walking onto this dock, and this woman's getting this guy's wallet, and she goes, "Hey, you shouldn't point that at people." He's pointing like this gun at her that shoots an arrow, and right in the eye, just like good.
That's like it was at Kill Bill when Uma Thurman takes Daryl Hannah's eyeball.
I never saw that.
That was my unfucking doing when she did that. So it's like, no, not her only eyeball, her eyeball, but her only eyeball. I love that movie. Actually, I love Kill Bill.
And the venomous snake is in the trailer with him.
Yeah.
What other film? I'm trying to think of something. I can't think of the title, where they actually showed the eyeball with the nerve endings and stuff like that, and they.
A lot of movies have.
What is it? They were eating the eyeballs or something like that.
Yeah, man, I know.
Vickie's great.
That's just like when Keith made us do Necromantic that one time with the eyeball. I was like, what I'm
maybe
talking
that's
about?
it. That's it.
That was just like, fuck this. I think two of our podcasters that day decided not to do the show because they couldn't get through the movie. Those wimps. It was bad. That was like one of the worst. That was bad. That was rough.
Like, we just won't.
We never did get to Thundercrack. We were going to do Thundercrack too.
Oh my gosh. Tom, what's your favorite kill of this movie? You got one?
Which favorite what?
Favorite kill of the movie?
My favorite scene?
Kill. No, your favorite kill.
Oh, there was one scene where the girl stood up or something, and he slashed a knife into her or something like that. I'm trying to think. To be honest, I thought that the kills were kind of, be honest, I thought the kills were secondary to the psychological stuff of mesmerizing the kids. Were more fashion. Were more.
Yeah, well,
Were
he
more
hated
interesting
kids.
than
He wanted to get. He didn't want kids anymore because kids ruined Samhain, and it wasn't like no bloody Moloch, uh, uh, nocturnal savage sacrifices of children that were filling blood all over the neighborhood. This guy was just mad at kids, I guess. I never really paid attention to that much either several years ago when I was watching it, why he wanted to kill all these children, and I mean, he just wanted to bring back the Wicked Witch is what he wanted.
Well, he is a witch, and he's a warlock.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, Season of the Witch. I mean, I'm wondering about that title and if it really gels with the movie, because like Vickie said, the guy was a warlock. Or at least it looked like he was a warlock, and
I think they played around with different attributes. But who was it that
Season of the
played
Warlock
that?
would have been better.
Was that Dan? That was Dan O'Harely, wasn't that played Cochran?
Right. Yeah. And the Irish, I did like the Irish
RoboCop. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He was in RoboCop.
I did like the Irish accents.
Blade Runner. Wait. That was the girl that played Ellie was going to be the Blade Runner girl, but her role was cut before filming. One who played Ellie, yeah, I could see her in that role.
Yeah, the one role I know Sean Young was in Blade Runner.
Yeah,
but this movie here, Dan's character is very interesting. He's this witch who is a practical joker and creates toys for kids. And he says that you never thought past giving your kids candy to Dan Chalice when he has him tied up in that chair. And he says it's time again, joke on the children. And it's a very sick, cruel joke. His performance, he's one of the best Halloween.
Do you think there was something of Children of the Damned in that movie? Thinking of the fact that here are these group of kids, they're being mesmerized and stuff like that. But going back to that Hammer film, Children of the Damned, where they all had, in Children of the Damned, they all had blonde hair and blue eyes and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about, Vic? And I'm wondering whether there was. It looked like there was an homage to a few things in that movie.
I think it was kind of like the children. You need to check on the children. The children aren't safe. They never really did movies like this before, where children weren't safe. I mean, because you were starting to come out where kids were starting to end up on milk cartons around this time, and children were disappearing. And then you had the school bus, the Chowchilla school bus, when that happened. Things like that were going on, much the same as a Halloween 1 and 2. That we had the advent of the serial killer. So there's always something going on that preys, at least in what I consider what preys on what scares you. And I think that this was probably why they did this, because kids were ending up on milk cartons back then.
That's very possible.
It wasn't safe for children. Everybody thought, you got to check. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Thing, came out. I mean, I think that's kind of an apocalyptic kind of notation there for children.
That was very famous back then. Back in New York, Saturday at 10 o'clock on Channel 5.
I remember that ad coming on at night.
Right after Creature Features on Channel 5.
Chiller, with the hand coming out of the muddy pool.
No, that's Chiller Theater. That's Chiller Theater.
I used to love that. They don't do that anymore.
Well, that was Channel 11.
I love all that old stuff. God, I
Creature Features.
Back on.
They had that. They had that cool music, and that Creature Features was really seminal to me, because they had the entire Universal cycle of the Frankenstein films and the Dracula films and all this stuff from the 40s, and the Mummy's Hand, and then going on to the Cheney Mummy from Western star who played the first mummy. Anyway, that that, but that was the one. It's 10. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Well, I think that's ingrained in the conscious. That was ingrained in the consciousness of the New York parents, who basically, well, I think, where they were saying to their kids, "You come in a little earlier on Saturday night. We don't want you to, we don't want you to."
Well, it got real for us when we were kids because we actually did have a serial killer in our town.
Yeah,
And he was killing, little kids from our school. And then they put him in jail. And then 25 years later, he started proceed killing all the hookers in Rochester.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, you had. Oh,
they
wow.
should have never let him out. I couldn't believe they let him out, but they did. Arthur Shawcross. So I mean, you just never, that was like the 70s and the 80s too. So I mean, there was so much going on back then. I mean, we didn't really have the internet, so everything was really word of mouth or the news, which made it even more intimidating and scary because it was the boogeyman,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the internet. I mean, just think of it. I mean, can you imagine not having this now after being so spoiled to having it?
Well, in Halloween 3, the commercials, and the Halloween jingle, that was the boogeyman in a way, if you think of it, because because although the boogeyman, the kids are scared of the boogeyman, but here they're hypnotized by the boogeyman, and they have no idea what's going to happen next, and they don't know if they're going to be possessed or anything like that. And I think that was what made it. There was an element of Hitchcock in that, in a way. I think this film is underrated. I think it was better than the critics gave it credit for. Because all they were thinking, and the problem is that all they were thinking of, it doesn't have Michael Myers in it.
Well, you see Joe Bob Briggs in his Monster Vision when he reviewed this, he was upset.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Yeah.
He did not have anything good to say about this movie at all. And I think that they've shown. I'm going to have to look. Well, Joe works on that show. I'm going to have to ask him if they did the episode, if they ever redid it all these years later. See if Joe Bob revisited it. I can't remember now if he did. I'm pretty sure he did. But I mean, I was going through videos and stuff, and he was just so upset that they made this movie. He was ranting and raving. Well, you know how he gets. He rants and raves. That's pretty funny.
What is this?
Yeah, he goes, I do not have any effing clue what they have done here. It's like, like everybody else, we were shocked. We thought we were getting Michael Myers. Because by now you've got full tilt, Friday the 13th is out, and they're hammering on the franchise. So I think I was like, they kind of felt that they were behind at this point. But I mean, like I said, it aged well, and it did translate well into this century. So I mean, it's not a total bust.
I think where it translates most well too is even as somebody who watched it as a kid, because my mom never liked movies that went after kids. She did not like watching those types of horror movies. So she didn't like this for a different reason.
What was taboo though? You're not supposed to go after little kids.
Yeah, but I loved this movie.
I did too. I had no problem with it.
It's like what, I like what they're doing. They're telling this different story of this doctor who's not a hero. And in every way he isn't, but he's going to try. It's like, will he save the day? And
he's an alcoholic womanizer, don't forget.
Yeah. But the greatest thing is they leave that as the question at the end of the movie. Did he get the last channel off? It's like,
it didn't look like it. I'm going with no, that they didn't get the last channel off. That's what I'm thinking. But it just looked pretty finale to me.
Yeah. Really, really. And the fact that you get Jamie Lee Curtis to do a voice cameo in this.
Did she do a voice cameo? Where was that?
She did two voice. She
I'm
did
trying
two
to remember where they were
voiceovers.
playing. So
One
Yeah,
was
she
the
was the
switchboard
announcer.
operator.
She was the announcer over the. You'd hear her over the loudspeaker.
oh, okay.
Curfew.
Yeah.
That's her.
And she was also, I think, the switchboard operator or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So she had two voiceovers
yeah.
in that movie, and
And
that
she
was
doesn't
big.
remember this either.
Well, that's like
I would,
Stacy Nelkin. I was surprised, but like when he starts beating the hell out of her because she turned into a robot. Well, the one thing was it like the pod people where they turn you into robots that way after they killed you? They don't really go into that.
No, they don't. I think you sort of get a hint of how the people look
Santa Mira,
real,
pod
that they
people.
that they look real. Because when he goes into the one area, there's a person sitting there, and it looks like a real person, and the head comes off. I think they just basically they kill you and they make you into one.
well, but it was kind of like that they had machine. They were whatever they were converted to, and that's through the mask that has the little circular thing in the back. It's kind of like converted them into like a machine, so to speak, because when they're killed, you see the yellow fluid coming out of them. It looks like oil fluid or
Orange juice. They
antifreeze.
use a lot of orange juice and something else. That just
Yeah,
disgusting.
probably. But it looks like antifreeze or something like that,
Well,
and it just gives you the impression that they've been converted into total androids, and and but in general, I'll just and what Rotten Tomatoes gave it 50%. I think that was basically based on the low amount of money. A lot of people didn't see it. A lot of people didn't see it at the time because it did not Michael Myers in it. If they had a different title for this movie, it might have done differently. They shouldn't have put
Yeah, I
it
don't
in
know what they
as a
were thinking
Halloween title.
because at around this time we were getting Creep Show and The Fog, and Tom Atkins is really riding the wave at this point. As far as the horror genre. I
Mhm.
mean, he was the daddy, the daddy of modern horror. Actually, I mean,
Well,
seriously, was this
I don't know
movie?
about that, but
Well, I don't mean it like that, but he was in a lot of these movies back in the early '80s, and then he just kind of dropped off. You don't see too much of him after that. He gets a cameo here and there, but you
yeah,
don't really see him that much. I mean, I know he's around still, but you don't really see him.
yeah. He
well,
was in Lethal Weapon.
he liked to pick
Yeah.
his movies, from what I understand. He was very,
That's true. He was in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
So was Mitchell Ryan. He was in Lethal Weapon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mitch Ryan's one of the villains in that movie.
Wow. Yeah. Why couldn't they have just called the movie Season of the Witch? Period.
I don't know.
And that I think people wouldn't have associated with Michael Myers. They would have been able to judge it separately for what it was worth, and it might have done better.
Well, the subtitle was inspired by Romero's film of the same name. Didn't he make a movie, Season of the Witch? Something like that. Something that bag. He made a lot. He's got a lot of obscure stuff out there. A lot of people aren't aware of. It's kind of interesting stuff too. It is really raw, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I guess they were allowed to do that because that's technically plagiarism, isn't it? If Romero had a movie called Season of the Witch and they put that in the title.
Well, it says here the subtitle was inspired by a 1973 George A. Romero film of the same name, and though the stories are not entirely unrelated, but
no,
that's interesting.
Go back and try to find it.
That's interesting. That would be interesting to see whether one was an indirect ripple of the other.
We got Night of the Creeps and all that stuff comes out right about then, around '86. I mean, it was just we were really getting like totally saturated with the genre at this point. Yeah. When all this came out, there's so much. I mean, I remember people not being happy with it.
Yeah,
but they were more unhappy with Poltergeist 2 and 3 than they were this one.
Yeah, there's another thing that I just thought. There's another thing that I just thought of when Stonehenge, that rock from Stonehenge was stolen. Why wasn't there anything in the news in the movie about that?
As I'm
It was
saying,
just
that's no small feat.
exactly. It's not like you're. It's not like you're.
Well, they showed something on the movie in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, in the movie.
Oh, they
Something
did.
going
Yeah.
on.
Oh, okay.
But too, if you're looking for something inside Santa Mirror, Tom Atkins' character makes reference to this company town. Silver Shamrock owned that town in every way. Like everybody there is like involved with that.
That was an interesting history, from
Yeah.
the 1940s, and I did like the Irish accents.
Yeah.
He did a County Cork accent. He did a County Cork accent.
And we get Michael Curry for Dark Shadows in this
Hill.
movie too.
He certainly did. It was more like, oh God, in the Bells of St. Mary's. What was the priest's name? But he talked like this, and it was it's like Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious.
Father Clarence, is it Father? I can't remember.
Something like that. Well, no, Clarence was in
the angel from that does the
It's
angel
a Wonderful
from the
Life. Clarence was in It's a Wonderful Life, but I'm thinking of, oh God, what's the name of it? He was a famous character actor. But he was basically known for his Irish brogue, which I love. So I kind of like that also, that a number of the characters had Irish brogues, so you kind of thought, that you could kind of see where their background was, and they came from Ireland, and that kind of thing. I thought that led so that was nowhere in the first two movies, Halloween 1 and 2. Yeah. That was kind of like, it's supposed to be Californian, it's supposed to be Midwestern, or something like that. But you see California. Vickie pointed that out. You saw the palm trees in the first couple of movies. That was nowhere with this. This was a very different movie. Only the title links it, and I'm going to say again, Michael Myers wasn't in it. That's what people were looking for. He was already ingrained. They went back to it in Halloween 4. They went back to Michael Myers. What I was saying. But that was it. $4 million budget, barely made. They barely made what they put into it. I think they got around $16 million in return or something like that.
Yeah, you see a lot of California farmland, which is nice. You've not seen the inner city too much. You see a hospital, you see some rooms, but you get to see the countryside of California, which is beautiful. My mother-in-law was from California, so very, very pretty and beautiful. I love the factory. I love the big factory we get. And Dan O'Haley as a heel. I mean, here's a guy who, early in his career, he played a good guy in what was the series I'm thinking about, Clint Eastwood, Rawhide, where he played a cowboy on an episode. So here he's playing a heel. But he played some interesting characters. He was, you guys are right. He was in RoboCop. He was briefly in Deep Blue Sea. So he was in a very, very interesting career. And hey, his son was the villain in Death Wish 3. So there's that. But yeah, this
people know him as the old man.
The old man. That's right. That's right. What's some of you guys' favorite scenes from this movie?
Oh, it's always going to be the little kid, getting in front of this TV screen with the two idiot parents that have no clue what's going on in their children's life or any other life for that matter. And how they've kept them busy for hours till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in a fake setup at this factory is beyond me. I mean, how long is this tour supposed to last? And are you not going to catch on eventually that something is wrong? So probably because these people just had no clue what was going on, but yet there they were. And then, they put the mask on and the commercial starts and, they don't realize, and they're not getting out of the room. So the Buddy Hackett lookalike guy there, and somebody, it didn't even look like Buddy Hackett. It was driving me crazy. And I mean, they're not getting out. So I guess apparently the bugs, the snakes, and the reptiles and everything else that comes out is supposed to kill everybody else around you. So it's going to get everybody. So yeah, I mean,
That's
it was
funny.
initially interesting seeing that gross goo coming out of the mask. And I really hate bugs. I mean, reptiles I'm down with. But if they could come up with a more vile composition to, due to, this dismember this child's head. I mean, there you go. I mean, because one, it's a child. You don't do that, So that, I mean, I liked it just because of that. And it was really gross. So, I mean, I liked it when they finally got down to brass tacks and messing with kids.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tom, favorite scene?
What's that?
Favorite scenes? Yep, favorite.
I'm sorry.
Also, favorite scene?
Oh, favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Favorite scene in the movie. I think the ending. I think the ending to the movie, where you had the kids, they were able to get rid of 2 of the 3 channels that broadcasted that thing for the kids, but they weren't. They kind of left it open as far as the 3rd channel. They weren't able to get that 3rd channel to get off, so that one channel was still going, and a lot of kids were still listening to that, and which, I mean, you kind of wonder why one station didn't call another, or something didn't happen. But either way, that to me, I think the ending of the movie was probably the best.
It was pretty riveting. I was screaming at the end. You think you got that one station, got 2 stations off, and that's all you get. They end it like that. So yeah, I can kind of agree with you on that. I liked how they ended it. It wasn't a happy ending.
No.
Really.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And the more I think of it, the more Stephen Kingish. I really think if that had been a movie that Stephen King put his name to, I'll bet a lot of people would have seen it. So again, it all depends. But then they decided to go back to Michael Myers and Halloween 4, and I guess are we doing that next time, Jewel?
Absolutely. I'm gonna take you back to Hatfield. Actually, 4, 5, and 6 are filmed in Salt Lake City. All 3 films, which are really, really nice. Salt Lake City makes a great Haddonfield.
Yes, it does.
And I love we're going to get into 4. The opening of 4 is one of my favorite Halloween openings. The countryside look that they give you to go in. They don't give you town. They're giving you the farmlands, the open fields. They give you that sort of fall, autumn feel of this movie.
I got a suggestion for you guys, and
Sure.
I'm just throwing this out. But I've been watching reruns of The Time Tunnel recently. The Time Tunnel is one of my old-time favorite shows. It only lasted a season. It was one of Irwin Allen's greater efforts. I don't think Lost in Space was fantastic, but there was a lot of, and they did use a lot of stock footage, but there was a lot of good stuff. I was wondering whether, Julie, you might consider doing that sometime.
Time Tunnel, you said?
Time Tunnel. You never saw the Time Tunnel?
Nope.
You never saw the Time Tunnel? Vickie, did you see the Time Tunnel?
Not recently. It's been a while.
Oh my God, Julie, you got to see the Time Tunnel. It's on, well, I don't know what you get, but it's on Comcast for free. And Time Tunnel is 30 episodes. It only lasted 1 season, with James Darren and Robert Colbert, played.
And it's kind of got that Land of the Giants vibe.
I found it on.
Well, Land of the Giants was more, and it was Irwin Allen. They were both Irwin Allen. So Land of the Giants was more like Lilliputian, that kind of thing. But Time Tunnel was more. They go
It was right
into.
around that time when they were doing Captain Kirk stuff.
Well, it
It
was
was an interesting
66.
time period. I think we were doing Batman then. I mean, it's an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
period.
It was the same year as Batman's first year, 1966, and Lee Merriweather was in it, who played Anne McGregor, one of the doctors, and Whit Bissell played General Kirk. Whit Bissell is more famous for the Time Machine and his role in that, and he's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh, I'm always
And
down
the
to talk
guy who
about
played
monsters movies.
Dr. Swain is also. Sam Groom was in that. I at first thought it was Sam Shepard, but Sam Groom played Jerry. But yeah, Jewel, I recommend that you, when you get a chance, look at the episodes. The first episode is the best.
I found it. I found it on the Internet Archive. So
I
I
they
just
should
sent it
have
to
all.
both of you. So after we do Halloween 4, we'll do the Time Tunnel by episode.
All right,
Because I'll watch
that's
anything.
good.
I'll watch anything.
That's good. Vickie, do you have a problem with the? Do you mind doing that? The Time Tunnel?
What's that?
Uh,
No,
we'll
I don't
do
mind
after
doing.
what? You don't
I
mind?
don't mind doing that.
Okay, well, that sounds good. But in the meantime, yeah, brush up on it, Jewel.
No.
That just goes to show you. Uh, you're younger. You're younger. You look more mature than you were. How old were you in 1966?
Was he born?
I wasn't born till 82. So
Oh, say no more. Say no more.
I'm 43. So
I wish I was
He's just. You're
43.
still a kid.
You're not kidding. I wish I was 43. I mean, Vickie's at least 45. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Well, you look 45.
I
But
mean, I've
anyway,
watched a lot of things growing up because my mom let me watch anything I want, and my grandfather got me into westerns. So,
uh-huh.
What is it with grandfathers and westerns? My grandfather was straight off the olive oil boat, but he loved John Wayne. I mean, seriously, we had to watch the whole gamut. We watched The Big Valley. We
Oh,
watched,
sure.
Rawhide. What was some of those
Bonanza,
other ones? Ponderosa.
Bonanza,
yeah.
Virginian.
There was just so many of them. I mean, there was the Rifleman. We watched it all. And when we were
Sure, I
watching
remember
any
the
of that,
Rifleman.
we were
Yeah.
watching every True Grit movie kind of type that was coming down the
Sure,
pipe. My
sure.
grandfather loved it, and now we all love it still to this
My
day.
Jewish grandmother from over the other side, she was a favorite of the
It's got to be an
Virginian.
ethnic thing, though, the old country. I don't know.
She loved the Virginian, and she called it the Virginie because she couldn't pronounce it right. But it was a big thing with her and Bonanza. She loved Bonanza, and I think a lot of people still do like Bonanza. Quite frankly. And then of course, Little House on the Prairie later on was the kind of sequel to these 60s westerns. Wanted Dead or Alive, Me TV. I don't know if I want to put in a plug, but Me TV, Memorable Entertainment Television, has something called Wanted Dead or Alive, which was one of those 60s or late 50s westerns, and Steve McQueen had the title role, and I happened to tune in on one with James Coburn the other day.
Yeah.
James Coburn went on to Our Man Flint.
Yes.
I remember that from the 60s. Our Man Flint was a real James Bond takeoff, that kind of thing. But anyway, so what other questions? What other questions do you have to get Vickie's genius online? Because she's
up.
the
God
one.
damn.
No, I don't want to shut up. But she's the one that has. See, I'm the Dark Shadows freak, but and the Universal thing, but Vickie has an expansively generalist knowledge of horror, and I think that was do the literary license podcast as well as a worldwide preoccupation.
Oh yeah, I'm down to talk about monsters with anybody, any day, anytime, all day, every day. Always down to talk about monsters.
Very attractive quality. Very attractive quality. I give you a thumbs up too.
Yeah, my mom ruined me at an early age.
You gotta corrupt them young. You gotta corrupt them.
Monster movie matinee every Saturday.
My father.
Every Saturday. A lot of
my
people
father
didn't
was
like
a horror
it,
movie.
let their kids watch it. My mom loved. I was watching Hammer films when I was 6. You know, I mean.
I watched them later on.
But I mean, they were the cleaned up version of Hammer films. I didn't know there was tits and ass in Hammer films until much later. And I was horribly shocked when I realized it. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, one time when I was in the hospital when I was younger, I'm watching the Hammer movies on TCM, and they're showing it uncut, and the nurse is walking in. That woman's breast is hanging out.
Yeah, they were big into boobs. It was a boob extravaganza. I thought that's probably where my brothers got their education. That and Basket Case, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, watching those early '70s Hammer films, especially.
What boy wasn't watching Basket Case? I'm just saying.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Watching those, the trilogy, The Vampire Lovers with Ingrid Pitt, and then Lust for a Vampire with the Stetson Guide, and finally Twins of Evil with those Playboy twins. One of them was a vampire, and one of them wasn't. And it was that to me, especially. Well, of course, Vampire Lovers was literally the signal, the Sentinel movie, which, and I don't think there was ever anything greater than that. You know, I mean, you could look at Blackula and say that was a fad, but it didn't really last the way. And Blackula Scream, it was really getting ridiculous. But
but those are just so bad they're good. Those are just
Yep.
I watch them just because they're that effing bad. So yeah, they're
exactly.
worthy.
Exactly.
So just because, I mean, seriously, like now, anything 2020, you know, I really have a hard time watching anything from 2020. Everybody got a cell phone, and just because they think they can make a movie, they think they can, they shouldn't though.
Yeah.
Just because you can, don't mean you should.
And that's the thing.
Tubi is full of it. Tubi is full of it. It's just like, what is this? It's just like, and I mean, it is. I'll watch anything. I will give anything a chance. But there's some shit that is so fucking lame that I can't get past the first 3 minutes. You just can't. You know.
Wow.
That's the thing. I I'm a fan of the original Howling, but I've seen all the Howling movies, and all the sequels are just like awful.
They're god awful. Like, I mean, they actually made a 3rd and a 4th. It's just like, you know, you guys just, when you're dead, lie down.
What are you doing?
Yeah, those are so bad. They are bad.
They're bad.
Those aren't even worthy of watching. It's so cheesy. And I mean, it's turned into a sex thing, too.
Yes.
You know? Furries meet sex. That's all it is. Like, it's not that.
That's exactly what it was, too.
Well, that's what it turned into. It's a furry fuck fest. That's all it is.
Yeah. Halloween 3 gets a 10. Straight, great movie. I have no further questions for you guys. I
wouldn't have given it a 10 40 years ago. I would now, but when I was a kid, I didn't give it a 10. But it's like fine wine, we all age well.
Yes.
Well, Vickie is going to be is going to be what, incognito or something for the next couple of weeks.
Next week.
We could do it next weekend.
Next week. Well, next week, not this weekend.
2 weeks.
I'll make it work one way. I'll try to make it work somehow.
In 2 weeks.
Just let me know.
In 2
weeks. I can do it.
2 weeks.
In 2
Sunday?
weeks. Halloween 4. In Sunday night be good for you, Vickie?
Yep.
In 2 Sundays?
That's good for me.
Wait, that's not H2O. It's regular Halloween 4, right?
Halloween 4. Halloween 4. 1988.
Okay. Oh wait, not the 20. Okay. I mean, I've always tried to find continuity, and this is where we're having a hard time finding. This is where continuity starts lacking. We're in the non-continuity phase. So, okay.
Well, I guess they didn't want to go to Halloween 19. I think people will.
Well, what I'm most curious of with the franchise is now, because they're going to do a television series that's going off of John's original, and it's like, okay, where are you taking this? Where are you going to take this? That's what I'm curious about, because I know Friday the 13th is in gear of doing a television series. They're moving along, but we'll see. First of all, I want to thank both Tom and Vickie. Thank you both so much.
Thanks.
Vickie,
enjoy it.
Have a safe trip.
I sure will, guys.
And make sure you channel your inner Kurt Russell and escape New York.
I do. I love that movie. Don't get me. I just love Kurt Russell. Don't get me going. Don't get me going. That's a whole other podcast. I could talk about Kurt Russell for 2 hours, if not more, on all of his movies. So
we'll cover it one day, I promise. But yeah, and then after we do Halloween 4, we will do Time Tunnel. By
you want to do Time Tunnel after Halloween 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, I'll start watching them. Looks interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Link to the Literary License podcast will be in the description box. Go check out these two. They're very, very nice, and they're very knowledgeable. You guys have a great time. Be safe.
We will. Take care, everybody.
You too, Vickie. Take care. Safe trip to you. We'll talk.
Bye, guys.
We'll talk. Bye-bye.